from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And I'm going to try to cover some of the latest news, as you may have heard, concerning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So let's give people a few minutes to log in, and we'll go from there. Hopefully you got notifications. Not sure, depending on how YouTube feels today. People are saying hello. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Hello. Let's see, I got to boot up my alternative phone and make sure I even got a notification. You never know. You never know. Somebody said they can't believe it either. Yeah. That about explains how I feel. Yep. Me too. Heartbroken and angry at the same time. Angry at the same time. I'm like, last night, I woke up and I did upload a video just talking about Charlie a few minutes ago, actually. Because in this one, of course, we have to cover all of the nonsense that is, floating around out there. But I wanted to do a video just addressing Charlie as a person. And, I actually know Charlie. He years ago brought me and a lot of other conservatives out to Arizona and met with us and treated us wonderfully. And so it's just sad to see what happened. I woke up last night and, I was in disbelief. Couldn't believe it. You get up and you immediately click on YouTube and pops up and I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Is this a joke? I mean, you want to believe that it's a joke. You want to be like, you know what, this can't be real. I'm pretty sure it's going to be debunked or something. And, of course, I started watching a couple credible YouTubers, and sure enough, it hit me. And I'm like, I can't believe it. I was so upset driving to work. So upset. I'm thinking some selfish person out there that, for whatever reason, felt that you have to take a man's life to shut him down and to silence him. Did something like that. And I hope he pays a serious price. I hope he pays a serious price. Serious. I'm driving to work and, you got all kind of mixed emotions. I'm thinking, I'm brokenhearted because I actually knew this man. I mean, it wasn't like he's just some fictional character or some distant character that I don't have any type of interaction with, never talked to her. And so I'm brokenhearted. I was in a little disbelief, like I can't believe this happened. Then you start thinking about his family, the movement, the impact that he had on society, politics. And then you start thinking, who is this selfish person who did this? And I mentioned that in my little standalone video that I uploaded. If you get a chance after this, go ahead and check it out. But to be that evil to where, you're not even thinking about the impact that this will have on his kids, his wife. I mean, you're just that blinded by whatever radical ideology that you have, that you just say, you know what? It's all about just this person. He's not connected to nobody else. I'm not worried about the impact it'll have on his kids as they grow. I'm just going to do this and hopefully be held as a hero amongst a lot of dumb, and I mean dumb and evil liberals out there. And we're going to see a couple of those dumb and evil liberals out there. We're at a bad time in America history right about now. And it's difficult sometimes. See, as a conservative, one of the people at work was saying, well, do you think the folks on the right are going to retaliate with violence and all this stuff? I said, we don't do that. Just blanket unnecessary violence against people. that's a liberal thing. That's a leftist thing, where they either get mad enough to say your words have offended me to the point where I think I got to take your life, or they do it in packs where they just randomly start attacking citizens to just create chaos and fear. In the case of like Antifa. But as a conservative, you know, if anything, it'd be, okay, this person right here needs to be dealt with. This person, not let me go out and just start, you know, random violence against a whole bunch of people. I don't even know what their political ideology is. I'm just going to go out there and start committing acts of violence because I'm mad over what happened to Charlie Kirk. We're not like that. Now, granted, I'm sure if a couple conservatives found out who this guy was and could get their hands on him, that might be a different story. But just to respond by random acts of violence, what is that going to solve? You know, that should be the last resort. And, you know, we don't ever want to get pushed into that position. But we also don't want to be taken advantage of to where these radical liberals think they can just punch on a bunch of folks and nobody punches them back. That's the fine line right there. And, you know, it's getting tougher and tougher to walk that fine line because, you know, they won't quit. They're getting more and more radical. Somebody asked if it was a professional hit. If it wasn't, it was close. And, you know, as I hear some of the details, you know, I'm wondering, was this coordinated by more than just one person because of the distractions, it appears, that took place after it happened? You know, it looks like a couple people just randomly, well, first of all, it was a real interesting question that was asked right when he got shot. And I'm like, okay, if that was to make a point about gun violence and, you know, if you support guns and stuff, look, this is what you get. That doesn't make a good point. Why would you kill somebody with a gun to make a point about what, gun violence or shootings and stuff? I don't know. We don't know what this shooter's motivation was, but there was a lot of distractions where the police directed their attention towards some folks that was, you know, acting crazy or saying stuff to where it allowed this person to, you know, escape. And as far as I know, they haven't caught him. But, you know, if he wasn't a professional, you know, he either got really lucky with a long shot or he's just really good at shooting, but he's not professional enough to just get away clean. But it is ironic, though, that you're in Utah. And I mean, I don't know the layout of Utah. I know it's a lot of open land out there, but you would think they'd set up a perimeter, you know, around that campus to make sure that they monitor who's running off or out or something. I mean, it's amazing to me where I'm like, wow, how did he get away? I just don't understand. Speaking of that, I ain't going to go through my normal, you know, introductions and all of that stuff. I just want to get into some of the coverage of this and so on and so forth. Speaking of the person, here's a recent video clip of the guy running down the street and somebody, you know, identified. Here he is.
Somebody's shooting over here. All the people running. There he is, right there.
So now,
that guy.
Yeah, you got a guy. It looks like he got some shorts on, a black hoodie, black whatever. I'm really interested to find out who this person is. Backpack on. Yepper. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time. It looks like he took his headgear off. Looks like, well, definitely a white male and some long hair. He needs to be caught. And I hope he doesn't try to take the cheap way out when they catch him. You know, a lot of these folks who do this stupid stuff will self-delete and things like that. I hope they catch his butt alive. I really do. This is horrible. But somebody got eyes on him. Somebody actually caught him on video running around.
That's the guy.
That's the guy.
To my grave.
So here goes President Trump. He comes out and, of course, he addresses this. And what I loved about Charlie is, you look at the impact Trump has had on a political scale and how so many, middle to older folks, support Trump. Charlie was like a gap, a bridge between the middle and older folks that, support the MAGA movement and bringing younger folks into it. And, when you look at the impact that he had, he was definitely dangerous because he was changing the landscape of how these young adults view social, issues, how they view political issues. And that is dangerous to a lot of folks with crazy radical ideology. And when you find somebody that impactful and is a wordsmith and is able to challenge your ideas, with facts and destroy all of these crazy behind narratives and beliefs, that can be very frustrating, especially to liberals. They don't like that. They don't like folks getting in there and exposing that what you're thinking about and what you believe in doesn't make sense. And you get to a point where you're saying, you know what? I can't win against this person. And it's such a cheap way of trying to have a victory when you say, I can't beat this person head to head. I can't, overcome all of the facts and the logic and the reasoning and the common sense this person is making. And I'm going to attempt to shut this person down in the most drastic way instead of trying to compete, and with ideas. Can't do it. And this is across the board when it comes down to liberals. That's why they don't like to debate. They don't like when you get in their face and start challenging them. And they say, shame, shame. They start blocking you with screaming. They protect who they think might be vulnerable in their pack. You're talking to one of them. They'll all come and circle around. Don't talk to this person, and shoo you away. They don't like it. If your ideas are that great, let them stand on the merits, debate them. But no, instead, they resort to violence. And, we're going to see as we go through this, it's not just the final stage and manifestations of the radical left that is really responsible for this. This has been being festered for a good 10 plus years now, if not more, by politicians. And that's what really burns me up. Politicians and irresponsible folks in the media who have convinced a lot of people in our society that conservatives are evil, Trump is evil, we must win by any means necessary, and everything is justified based on our crazy radical ideology. I mean, when you start, demonizing folks and making these crazy, unstable people feel like we're not, attacking regular, moral citizens and people like us. We're attacking folks who they're so morally tainted, they deserve this type of violence. And you don't see these Democrats or the left pulling back or pulling up on this. And it's really hard to figure out how to undo this because they have polluted the minds of a lot of people in our country. And you will see it as we watch some of the responses that people have to what happened to Charlie Kirk. When you get people in society that is cheering on and celebrating an assassination of a father and a husband, we've hit a new moral low. You don't see this come out of conservatives. You don't see this. You only see it coming out of the loony, crazy, radical left. So here's Trump coming out and talking about what took place.
Fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world.
And you could see that. And I'm sure this new modern progressive ideas of what happiness looks like, what the nuclear family represents, the patriarchal system and all of this. I mean, these are the things and the values that he represented that the radical left despises. They despise that. I mean, this man loved his wife, talked about his wife and kids all the time, talked about the importance of fathers being in the family, and then they take him away from his family. I can't even imagine what his wife right now is going through. I mean, her whole life has changed. She got to figure out how to raise these two kids and, explain to them the evils that took place that would take their father away like that. I can't even imagine it. I can't imagine it. So, yeah, family man, loved his family, and devout Christian. Let's finish hearing what Trump had to say.
We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever.
And that is true. That is true. I mean, loved him or hated him, those kids came out. They either came out to support him or came out to see if somebody can best him, if somebody can go ahead and trip him up. And he was so effective at what he did. It was frustrating. You would see clips. I mean, I would sit back for hours watching clips of Charlie Kirk destroy the radical left when it comes down to debate. In fact, the other day, my last lot, I think it might have been my last one or the one before that one, I used a clip. No, it wasn't even, it was a regular video that I uploaded and I just made it a premiere where I was talking about, the response to black violence and things like that. And at the end of that video, I used Charlie Kirk's clip debating with a young black man over his stinking thinking about, America. And he was so effective. So, I mean, he makes it nice, plain and clear. And they walk away with the tail between their legs and, try to live to fight another day. But some evil stinking person decided, nah, we don't like that. See, the way we're going to show you guys that liberal ideology is the best is by silencing you through acts of violence. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's what we represent. And then you got fools online supporting this mess.
To share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year.
Bam. Now he's getting to the nitty gritty. And after this happened, the media and Democrats are going into crisis mode to try to justify, or at least, but what about you guys? They're going to try that. It's your rhetoric. It's not coming out of our side. And these are the tactics that they use. But everybody with common sense knows that if you've been programming people for years about the dangers of Trump and all of his the dictatorship and he's this, he's that, and anybody who supports him is this and that. If you've been brainwashing folks for years, even folks that might have started off, relatively, stable, but they just was bombarded month after month and year after year about the conservatives and Republicans and the MAGA movement and the evils of Trump. That is enough to sway a person that just ain't wrapped tight, to the point where now all of a sudden justifying violence makes sense to them. It's the moral thing to do. I'm not going to sit there and watch all of this stuff take place and all of this hatred and they're disappearing people. I'm not going to sit there and watch that without trying to do something about it. And then they start becoming drastic. And Trump is calling it out. The true folks behind all of this, because our country wasn't like this. Trump came on the scene and their response to him was so aggressive, so over the top, that it drove half the country crazy. And so now he's calling it out. And of course, you know what they're going to do. Well, that Trump has no right to say that. It's that Trump's rhetoric. It's him that did this.
In the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
Yep. And you got to understand, this stuff is coming out of folks who have platforms and they have a social status that would make folks that are brainwashed take them seriously. When you turn on what you think or interpret as the news, and you hear them saying stuff like Trump's out there, this is Nazi behavior. This is like the Germany. When you're listening to Democrats who are supposed to be responsible for what they say, supposed to be saying, wait a minute, am I to drive a wedge between our citizens to where it makes our country almost get on the verge of civil war? I mean, I know that Trump's not Hitler. I know he's not a threat to democracy. I know he's not a white supremacist. I know all these things, but I'm going to purposefully and strategically use these things because we can't compete with his ideas. We can't compete with his policies. You know, we sound stupid when we get out there and try to tell America that our radical, crazy ideas and policies make sense, and people are starting to see through us. And our response to that is to divide them with the most drastic, hateful rhetoric and labeling that you can do. Telling folks that people are Hitler reincarnated. You're about to see the manifestation of this right after this, when Trump and J.D. Vance and a few of them went to this restaurant up in D.C. and some protesters came out, and guess what they were saying?
And it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
Yep. And they're at the point where they celebrate. Celebrate it. I mean, don't you have any shame? Don't you have any, like, I hope these clips of these dumb people out there celebrating this, I hope it gets back to like the jobs. You know, you are immortalizing how stupid and evil you are online. You're there forever, up there celebrating this, and then you want to live a productive life in society. After leaving on the internet, you cheering over this man being assassinated. And I hope these clips follow them everywhere they go. I hope they get shamed everywhere they go. Looking at them like, I can't believe you. As foul as I think folks on the left are, I'm not wishing this. I mean, to some of these crazy behind Democrats, liberals, folks in the media, I'm not sitting back going, man, if something happened to them, I would celebrate. This evil seems to only exist in the radical left.
Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died. The values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close.
Yep. And so the dummy who thought that he was silencing him just made Charlie Kirk a martyr. I mean, he made him a martyr. I mean, you know, his clips are going to be on the internet forever. I mean, people should study what he did and how he changed the landscape of modern politics on the college campuses and amongst young people. I hope the movement grows bigger. I hope a lot of young people say, you know what, this is exactly why we left the radical left. This is why we're now moving away from the indoctrination that they're pushing on these college campuses. It's unreal. And then, of course,
may God bless his memory. May God watch over his family. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So look, here's Trump. He shows up at this event, this restaurant, and then look what happens. See, this is the rhetoric.
We have a safe city now.
We have a safe city now. A safe city until these dummies show up, and I don't even know how they got that close. But listen to the radicals over here and what they're cheering, chanting.
Enjoy your dinner.
Free, free Palestine. Trump is the Hitler of our time. Where did they get to see? This is the crazy thing about this. All of a sudden, man, they got Hitleritis. Everybody is Hitler. That is the solution to all their problems. Just label people as Hitler. So yeah, where'd they get this? They're hearing it from what was supposed to be responsible adults in our society. Yeah, when you're listening to folks that justify your crazy beliefs, then you're going, wow, maybe I'm not that far off when I hear, you know, people on the news calling him Hitler. Yeah, maybe I'm not that far off when I see Democrats out there comparing him to Hitler. Maybe I'm justified in me now adopting this mentality that who we are dealing with is a modern day Hitler because it's being supported by folks that are supposed to be responsible. That's what it is. You know, they are encouraging this, and these dumb brainwashed people now who all are white liberals talking about some free Palestine. You don't know nothing about Palestine. Nothing. You know, drag any of these little white chicks right here and drop them off in Palestine and they wouldn't last. If they were over there on October 6th, I forget, maybe October 6th or was it? Yeah, October 6th or 7th, something like that. I forget the date. But if they were over there, they would have been victims. They would have been victims. And here they are, free Palestine. Trump is the Hitler of our time. Now, the irony in this chant right here. Free DC, free Palestine. Free DC. Free DC. So DC's not free. This is the delusion. This is the radical left. So now, let me understand. You somehow walk up in there and you are chanting and calling Trump Hitler to his face, the Hitler of our time. Do you think Lefebvre would have tolerated that? The very fact that you're in there able to do that without being terminated, you know, that goes against what you're saying. But they're not even smart enough to realize that. Not even smart enough to realize that. So once again, we got examples of dumb, crazy liberals parroting what a lot of people in the media and Democrats have been saying.
Did he put out a...
And then this chick comes out to respond for, you know, to Trump's statement that he put out there about Charlie Kirk. And look what they're more worried about. Look what they're worried about. And look how they're trying to spin this mess.
A 4-minute video, and I'm not going to play the video. I don't want to play the video, But there was a line at the end that I think I just wanted to raise and read. At the end of this 4-minute video, he says, "For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now." And obviously, there's a lot of rhetoric that is problematic. A lot of it is coming from one particular side and from one particular building.
You see what she's trying to do? She's trying to go ahead and suggest that, oh yeah, the rhetoric is coming from Trump, one particular side. You're not going to own it? Do you know how much crazy radical stuff this chick has said online and on her show, her raggedy show? You know how many people she's platformed that allowed them to come up there and lie, nasty Pelosi on there, where she's like, so what do you think Putin has on Trump? And Nancy up there talking about something, I don't know, it's probably financial. And she ain't saying that, she's just sitting there nodding along. You know how many lies she's peddled on this show? And now what is she talking about? It's coming from about one building, one person. What are you talking about? Trump is not out there spewing any of the rhetoric that we hear coming out of these raggedy folks on a daily basis. Daily basis. And here she is now trying to misplace the blame like they always do. They all of a sudden, we all need to temper it down. We all need to go. No, we don't all need to do nothing. You guys are responsible for this. Y'all are the ones that have a patent and, a market on all the crazies. Y'all are the ones. And yet always throwing it out there talking about the radical right. You didn't see Charlie Kirk out there trying to silence folks. He was out there trying to promote, dialogue, freedom of speech, sharing of ideas. That's what he was up to. But yet y'all called him extreme, radical. Yeah, that right there, that guy, man, he's divisive. How are you going to be divisive and you're trying to have open dialogue with people? And they didn't even want this man to come on campuses because they swore up and down his words might hurt the kids. Unreal.
But what can be done? I fear when this is an escalation already.
Yeah, now you fear that, right? This escalation already. So now, of course, the response is, I fear that Trump's going to use this to now come after us and all of this stuff. We fear escalations already. Unreal. So you're not fearing these crazy behind folks out here that thinks, oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and shoot somebody. Let me go ahead and assassinate somebody. You're not fearing that? And you're fearing it's going to be an escalation or retaliation? Unreal.
We don't.
And then look at this. Look at this coverage coming out of, you cannot hate the media enough. Look at all of these responses and attempts to try to justify this, spin it, downplay their part in it.
We don't know the full details of this. We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration or
what kind of statement is that? We don't know the details. We don't know if this was one of his supporters shooting a gun off in celebration. Who does that? I mean, that is one of the most asinine statements you've ever heard on the news, and it's about to get crazier. I mean, what do you think is going on? Do you think that conservatives, we do that, just straight cowboys out there shooting up in the air? How does a supporter just shooting off a gun for celebration, totally out of context, middle of him talking, and you decide to start shooting off a gun, in celebration at him? Who brought this guy on? But this is the stuff, I thought maybe it was a celebration to one of his supporters. They would love it if it was somebody they could blame on the right for this. But they know deep down in their heart, when this person gets caught, we already know which side they're going to be on. So then he comes out and says this dumb thing that got him fired.
So we have no idea about this. But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech.
I want to beat his tail. I'm honest. I want to beat this guy's tail. I'm so glad that he got fired. This hate speech. According to who? See, this is the trick that they pull. Whatever we can't, dispute, whatever we can't argue with you, you're making too much sense. So your speech is hateful according to us. I listen to what he says. And I said, makes sense. So you don't want any pushback. Your idea of society is a complicit, passive society that says we don't want to challenge anything. We'll go along with everything. But the key is they want us to all go along with their ideology. That's the kind of society they want. Yeah. See, any crazy ideas that we throw out there, any crazy policies that we throw out there, we want you to accept that mess. Yeah. Go ahead, swallow it. And if you don't, then we will say what you're saying and how you're challenging our ideas and our craziness is hate speech. You're putting people's lives in danger. So nothing about what Charlie Kirk ever talked about was radical. Back in the day, these are common sense things. And then they come out and then they label us as far right. Says who? Says who? I'm thinking, how did we become far right? How is common sense far right? How is saying, you know what, I believe in God, I believe in the First and Second Amendment, I believe in closed borders, I believe in America first. How is all of that stuff far right? I believe there's only two genders. How is that far right? But according to these people, that's hateful. Just because you challenge these dumb, impressionable kids that have bought into a lot of y'all propaganda and hurts their feelings and challenges their worldview, all of a sudden, that's divisive and hateful.
They're sort of aimed at certain groups. I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that the people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying
these awful thoughts you have. The arrogance of this person, the awful thoughts you have. Do you understand how many people thinks like Charlie Kirk? But this guy is saying awful thoughts you have. Yeah, justifying it. Basically saying you brought it on yourself. Yeah, that is why he got fired. I wish I could have been there to fire him myself. Awful thoughts you have. Yeah, just because you couldn't be civil enough to just focus on the tragedy, now you got yourself fired. Got yourself fired. But this is the evilness that comes out of the left. And he's talking about awful thoughts you have. He got the nerve to be trying to judge Charlie Kirk, but at the same time, get your butt fired for being incredibly insensitive, blaming him for having evil thoughts and divisiveness. And pretty much you can't get out there and say what you feel, express your own opinion without having somebody end up shooting you. Now, if that was the basic rule, why aren't all of the folks on the right shooting liberals every day? Every day. You know how much we listen to these crazy folks spew out the craziest hateful thoughts and ideas? We don't say, you know what we're going to do? Solve this by just shooting them. We don't do that. Yeah, we just laugh it off, call them crazy liberals, and move on. That's it. Make videos about it. But no, not them. This guy's talking about that when they're pushing out hate. And all of the crap that we hear come out of them, calling everybody Hitler or white supremacists, Nazis, and you know what? All of that mess. That sounds hateful to me. I'm just saying. And then this fool talking about that you put out all this stuff and your evil thoughts and stuff.
these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Charlie Kirk.
Man, that when I saw that guy say that, I was sitting there like, you know what? The Lord himself might have to grab me if I was in a room with this guy when he said that. He might be like, Kev, I'm going to save you from yourself. I'm going to put you to sleep in the bosom of Abraham. I'm going to rock you to sleep. Yeah, I mean, it would have taken everything in me not to go, you know what? You want to talk about that, your hurtful words that might have hurtful actions? Yeah, you're about to prove that point. You're about to prove that point, and here's some more. Look at this.
Is a divisive figure, polarizing, lightning rod, whatever term you want to use.
Well,
according to who? You see how they come out, the polarizing figure? They set up the whole landscape by starting off letting everybody know that he's a polarizing figure. To who? I mean, the millions of people who support Charlie Kirk, and yet polarizing figure, only polarizing to stupid people that don't know how to debate, can't accept debate, and then went so far left in their beliefs and their ideology, the common sense stuff now is polarizing. Polarizing. But yet, that's how they label. That's how they label us. And then they wonder. They wonder why folks become crazy in responding to conservatives. Because you're talking about they're polarizing, they're divisive, they're a lightning rod.
He's one of MAGA's most prominent voices online. He hosts a near daily podcast. He opines on almost everything. He's been very closely aligned with the president.
See, there it is. Now, all of a sudden, let's throw Trump in there a little bit. He's polarizing. He aligns with MAGA. It sounds like America, who overwhelmingly voted for Trump, aligns with MAGA too. But are they all polarizing? Are we all polarizing? We got horrible beliefs and stuff like that. I mean, the media, they're the worst. They are the absolute worst. This is their response to what took place. How can we go ahead and try to pretend that we're empathetic to this, but at the same time, protect our radical behind folks that we have brainwashed all of these years to become this crazy? And we don't want to tick them off by condemning this, by making them think our opinion of these people were absolutely wrong. We got to try to still make them think our assessment of these people are still correct. So don't get it twisted. They're still evil. They're still extreme. They still deserve certain types of responses and stuff like that. But we don't want to just be blatantly disrespectful to a man who was just assassinated. So we're going to try to mix the two. Mix the two. He's polarizing. Now, we're not saying that we're encouraging violence. But we're going to go ahead and label this man a whole bunch of things that, has he ever labeled himself that? Has he ever come out and said, man, I'm far right, I'm polarizing, and all this? No, y'all labeled him that.
Since his initial run for office in 2015, 2016, and his ties to Trump really elevated his own brand.
Charlie Kirk is a close...
You see, that's how you make him even more evil. That's his ties to Trump, because you done got folks brainwashed, as we just watched those dummies talking about the free Palestine, Trump's the Hitler of our time. Yeah. So now, tying to Trump, you see where we're going? Trump's rhetoric, Charlie's rhetoric, MAGA movement. Yeah, that's what they're trying to go ahead and do. Yeah, just because he's, tied to Trump, there it is. That says it all. And then look at this.
Close ally of President Trump's. Not only that, he's somebody who helped him get elected this cycle. He's also a controversial figure at times. He goes into these various college campuses, pushes conservative issues, gets into heated back and forth often with these students on these college campuses. But of course, none of that is violent.
You see that? So now let me go ahead and, try to act like I'm trying to not encourage and justify what happened. I'm not trying to, tarnish his image by saying that he's polarizing, goes in there and he gets in these. He has debates. That's all. He shares his beliefs. That is all. He defends his position. That's all. But these kids willfully come to debate. He's not going in there dragging them there. Yeah, they come on their own. And because of this, all of a sudden now he's labeled as divisive and he goes in there. But hey, look, I'm not saying that there's violence and stuff like that. But we're definitely not going to be empathetic, sympathetic, and complimentary over what Charlie Kirk has done and what he's accomplished. We ain't going to do that. We can't go that far. We still got to mix in a little evil with what we're trying to say, what this is a sad day, it shouldn't have happened. However, these people are evil, man. They are the pits. They're the worst.
This is the first time we've seen this kind of reaction, obviously.
After one of the Doge employees was allegedly attacked in Washington, D.C., that's what...
Now, this is where you go to. Yeah, after the Doge. Yeah, here it is. We don't want Trump to put his foot up our butts. Now, that's what she's basically saying right here.
Donald Trump used as a justification to send in federal troops into Washington, D.C. to get things under control. And I know it's hard to predict the future, Mark, but you can imagine the administration using this as a justification for something.
Yeah, for something. That's your response? Yeah, you're more worried about the response to this horrific assassination. You're more worried about that than the next crazy radical that might go out there and do something stupid. You don't think that's coming? You don't think these people have gotten a taste for blood? I mean, do you think all of a sudden they're going to temper it? You think they're going to now, lose all of this crazy ideology and belief that we're fighting a war and we're trying to save democracy? You think that right there is going to be deprogrammed all of a sudden out of these people? It's now in the bone. It's in the bone. Doing stuff like this is designed to intimidate freedom of speech, intimidate debate, intimidate events like this, because you got to worry about some crazy leftists doing something stupid. That's the design of it. I mean, I don't know. You don't even want to see the video. It was just horrific. Horrific. The only thing is that it looks like Charlie Kirk was gone immediately, and didn't suffer. But what took place was just horrible. Lights out, just like that. A man is alive and then dead the next second. He didn't have time to contemplate, think about what happened, nothing. That's all it was. That evil, stinking person, just like that. 1 minute, he's alive, debating, and then all of a sudden, just gone. Gone. And you got people celebrating that. I cannot understand how you could become so evil where you're celebrating this stuff. But when you hear these dummies talking about that we're worried about Trump retaliating, he was divisive, then you get people on the left all over TikTok celebrating this. Well, he was divisive, then that means, well, he was what? He was polar. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's good that he's gone.
Again, no permit is required or needed to buy or possess a firearm. There's no waiting period, no state-mandated time period for firearm purchases. Utah does not require the registration of firearms. So,
like any of this stuff would have mattered. Like any of this stuff, what are you even bringing that up for? To distract from the evil on the left. That's what you're doing that for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pivot is, guns. If it weren't for guns, this crazy person would not have done that. It has nothing to do with, this person buying into whatever crazy ideology and belief that they had that made them say, you know what, I'm going to solve this issue with murder. Had nothing to do with that. Had nothing to do with it. Was the guns. But yet you're throwing all of these facts out there to make people look at the wrong thing. Don't look at us that's been saying that the right is radical, we're evil. Don't look at us demonizing the MAGA movement, demonizing Trump. Don't look at us. Don't even look at this person who is most likely a full-blown radical leftist. Don't even look at them. It ain't even their fault. You know whose fault it is? The guns. That's whose fault it is. The guns. See? So when you can't justify this, what you do? Pivot. Focus on the inanimate object that can't get up on a roof by itself and shoot this man. Focus on that. And all of us stupid fast they don't need to wait for a gun here. And that's why. That's why.
So it is most firearm types are allowed under state law. Laws ban certain firearms. On average, 442 people die by guns.
See, all these stupid facts, all of these stupid things that they're bringing up has nothing to do with a crazy radical person assassinating Charlie Kirk. Nothing to do with that. Yeah, you're missing the source of the problem. A crazy radical leftist shot him. That's what you're missing. That is the problem. So somebody said buffering on their end. Am I buffering on anybody else's? You know what? I don't even know if I got the Wi-Fi on. Let me see. Might need to turn that on. Oh, man. Jeez. All right. Okay. Hold on for a second, guys. Well, let me see. If I'm not buffering on anybody else's, then I might just roll with it. You're good now? I'm good? Okay. Thanks. All right. So anyway, yeah. That's what it says buffering. And okay. Kevin, good. I'm good. Hopefully it cleared up a little bit. Yeah. But these are the sleight of hand tactics that they use to, misdirect and direct people's attention to stuff that don't even matter, had nothing to do with this person making this decision.
In Utah.
I mean, yeah, it's scary for anybody that has any sort of voice at all in the country and wherever you go out, and with the ability for people to, you know, and especially I'm in Texas, you can legally carry guns, you know, into most places in Texas in this. This is a...
Now see, here once again, back to guns. Focus on the guns. This is the same guy who just got his butt fired. Now, the question is, if the guns are the problem, why aren't all of these conservatives who probably own the biggest amount of the guns, why aren't we out there just shooting folks? Why aren't these evil guns possessing us to go out and do stupid stuff like this? I mean, if that is their argument, it is the guns. Then how can you justify all of the conservatives who support the Second Amendment not being possessed, not saying, you know what, I sat there and I watched the video of, you know, David Pac-Man, and you know what, he's always calling us this and that, and he's always saying Trump's this and that, you know how I'm gonna handle this guy? Why don't we do that? See, so maybe it's not the guns. In fact, it's not. We all know that. But of course, they got to blame something. They can't blame, you know, all of the crazy radical leftists that y'all have indoctrinated. Can't blame them.
We're the only country that this is going on in this way.
Yeah, because y'all have spent 10 years telling everybody that these people are demons and they're evil and they need to be shut down and silenced and banned off the internet and they're divisive and they're hateful. Y'all have spent all of that time. Y'all have created this toxic environment that we're living in right now. Spending hours and hours and hours a day telling everybody that Trump's evil and he's about to roll back your rights. He's about to go ahead and throw you in the gulags. He's disappearing people. That's why our country is like this. But now you're talking about we're the only country like this because we got stupid politicians and people like you dividing our country.
And we have this awful toxic stew
coming from you
of political divisive hate speech that's being pushed.
And I'm sure he's not talking about himself. I'm sure he's not talking about the constant hate speech we hear coming out of the fake news every day in Democrats. I'm sure he's not talking about that. I'm sure that when he's talking about hate speech, it only applies to conservatives. It only applies to folks who disagrees with these people's crazy behind rhetoric. Isn't it odd that the people who's always talking never include themselves? Never. Yeah, they're the ones that are able to determine what that is. That is why the same fool earlier was saying Charlie Kirk and his evil ideas and his evil thoughts and his hurtful words, hateful words. Yeah, that guy, yeah, he put himself in the position of God. He's the one that is the overseer of morality. Yeah, your words are hateful. Yeah, what you're saying is hate speech. So now, I'm sure he's not referring to himself.
And simultaneously combined with unbelievable access that people have to guns and guns at every level.
There are a lot of people
and here come the loonies. Here come the loonies. Yeah, I hope they never get a job. I hope these clips right here follow them wherever they go.
Like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never see something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, when bad things happen to bad people.
Charlie Kirk.
All look nuts. This person got all kind of stuff pierced through her lip, nose, and the teeth, everything. I don't even know if this is a guy or girl, what it is. I don't even know what it is. And here they are.
Just got shot.
Well, breaking news, folks. Seems somebody just took a shot at one of the Fastest favorite 5-mile wide mouthpieces, Charles Chuckle Kirk.
And you know what's hurtful about it? The internet has some good things about it, but it has some horrible things about it too. I mean, it has really made people like this who want to get some type of reaction, maybe want to get their 5 seconds of fame amongst other crazy people, come out and do stupid stuff like this, evil stuff like this, you know, and share their crazy, evil ideas and responses to other evil, crazy ideas and responses, you know, and yet they are thinking this is socially acceptable. Even if you felt that way, why would you get out here and do this? I mean, would you want anybody in your family to receive what took place with Charlie? Well, I mean, what about these crazy people? What if we say, you know what? We find these crazy people to be so evil, so hateful, so disrespectful that I'm going to go find this person perched somewhere and take a shot. What if we did that? We were talking about, woohoo, we got rid of the crazy girl with all of the things in her lips talking about. Yeah, I mean, what if we did that? So they're up here celebrating, and this shows how we have gotten to a point of so low morale when it comes down to these crazy people out here doing this.
Charlie Kirk got shot and killed. How do you feel?
Look at this.
Happy goodbye.
Happy goodbye. All the same, radical, crazy, liberal, leftists. You got to be warped in your mind to think this way. The level of hatred that these people have received in their heart, they've opened up the door, and got to the point where they hate somebody that much where they're going, I'm happy, I'm relieved.
Wow.
Look at this.
Did you see that Charlie Kirk just got shot and killed?
That's good.
Wow.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's sad. It's angering and it's sad. It just makes you say, boy, if we responded like you guys are, if we had the same type of hate towards people, this little skinny person walking, I mean, how would they feel if that guy would have just violently started attacking her? I'm going to break your neck and this and that. Hey, how would she feel? He's talking about this is good. Because you're a radical, crazy leftist who celebrated this man being assassinated. So I'm going to go ahead and return the favor. I'm going to treat you like you just said was good for Charlie. Yeah, would it be okay then? Would it be justified based on how you feel? Based on you just not liking me and my ideas and stuff like that? Yeah, they never think about if this was reciprocated. They don't think like that. In their mind, it's, this is only directed towards people who deserve it on the right. Evil.
Wow, that's good. That's good that people are getting shot just on a political view.
Charlie Kirk gets shot and killed today. We're just getting people's opinions. How do you feel about that?
Girl, someone had to do it. That's how I feel at this point in time. But
look, all little liberals, white liberals on campuses, young people who probably think he's a fascist, he's a white supremacist. Somebody had to do it. I mean, these are Americans that are justifying this stuff. The evil has infested these people to the point where they're talking about this towards, fellow Americans. And this is all coming out of Democrat voters, all coming out of folks that have been radicalized by the left, the Democrat Party, the fake news. Yeah, all been radicalized by this, all been indoctrinated in college or wherever to think like this. Unreal. How are we going to get rid of this, man? How are we going to it's in the bone of these folks so bad that they're openly on the internet celebrating this.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. I truly do. So you said someone had to do it.
yes. Try not to get all pulled up into that, but he was a misogynist. He was a disgusting person with disgusting beliefs.
Disgusting person with the disgusting beliefs. He was a misogynist. See? Now, these are all terms you hear coming out of what? The left, radical left. Misogynist, disgusting person, this and that. And then you get this fat body right here who, when he was asked about it, now this is the same guy who suggested that Trump was behaving like Hitler. Same guy suggesting Trump was behaving like Hitler. And watch what he does as he tries to pretend that he's, condemning the political violence and stuff. And then at the end does what?
Violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states.
All coming from the left.
And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it.
The president's rhetoric often foments it. So now, you're telling me your crazy radical liberals who's been doing all of this stuff, they don't have no self-control? I mean, the president gets up and talks about America first, talks about, law and order, and yet somehow these people can't control themselves. There it is. All the violence is coming from one side, but somehow you make these references to stuff that ain't got nothing to do with this, and then talking about the rhetoric, and then tops it off with saying it's coming from the president himself. So Trump brought this on. That's what it is. Your people can't control themselves. That's what you're saying. After this cat right here out there referencing Trump to be Hitler, there it is. That's how you go ahead and lower the temperature by suggesting that Trump is behaving like Hitler and he's about to invade Chicago. He's about to go to war against Chicago. That's how you go ahead and lower the temperature. Now, if you got crazy folks out there thinking Trump's about to invade Chicago, we got to do something about this by any means necessary, because Fat Body is out here saying that. If you actually believe that Trump was Hitler, why not take him out? Why not take folks like Charlie Kirk out? And this guy misplaced the blame once again.
Charlie.
Now, I got to give it to Stank. I call him Stank. Stank comes out here and he's disgusted by this. Now we're going to get into some people's reaction that, was heartfelt and meaningful versus the nasty, stinking, evil people's reactions.
Charlie Kirk has been shot. He was in Utah giving a speech at a college. And unfortunately, I just found out that he's passed away. It is beyond tragic. It's disgusting. It's terrible. It's the worst thing that has happened in American media and politics in a long time. So this violence is not the answer. It is the very worst possible answer. We don't know who did it. And if some of you might have seen an older guy getting dragged away by the police, it turns out they released him. He's not the guy. So they haven't caught the guy yet, but I can't believe he passed away. I can't believe it. So
I can't either. Can't believe it. And he's debated Charlie before, and I think I've seen him, debate a couple times. And he has the right response. He has the right response. So I got to give credit where credit is due, because he's a radical leftist, but he's calling it for what it is.
So he's gone. And violence is surrender. It's saying that you can't win in the battlefield of ideas.
Yep.
What a terrible, terrible message to send. And that you have to be barbaric, and you have to be violent, and you have to be a savage, and you have to just shut that person down physically because you can't defeat him with your ideas. What a cowardly form of surrender. What a disgusting thing to do. How deeply immoral. This is a terrible, terrible day. Because so not only do I know Charlie, and you could say, hey, he said bad things in the past. Who cares? That's not the point today, okay? It doesn't matter what people said. You never do violence. Never. That's the exact opposite of being a progressive. It makes no sense at all. We're against violence. If you do violence, you're not one of us. You're disgusting, you're immoral, and you're deeply counterproductive. Anytime one side does violence, it makes everyone else hate them, rightfully so.
Got a point. However, he has been guilty over time, going forward with his rhetoric when it comes down to how he perceives conservatives and what they're doing. Way over the top, labeling folks as, Now, granted, he's not saying go out and do violence, but he don't realize that when you start, in your debate, starting to question people's morality, that's what they like to do. They like to get into your character versus what, you're saying and what you believe, and whether what you're saying makes sense. But in this application, he's right. And I think even more so because he had a personal connection with Charlie to where it's like, well, dang, this dude used to debate. We know it ain't like somebody I actually hate. It's just somebody I disagree with. And so he's busted up over it. And so am I.
So none of our side should ever do.
They're reporting.
And the sad part is, what are you going to do about that? The problem is it's all coming from your side. I don't care how much they try to get on here and lie to everybody and say, well, it's the both sides thing. I'm going, no, it's not. And this was one of the saddest responses when Megan and what is his name? I forget his name already. Found out that Charlie had died. that's how I felt, man. When I woke up rather and saw this, I was just like, it's like somebody just punched me in the chest.
Learning that Charlie has died. That he's dead.
Glenn Beck.
At the age of 31.
31 years old. Unbelievable, man. That dude was wise beyond his years. Wise beyond his years. Both of them busted up. Busted up.
What she would have to be if that video was real.
There's no way he survived that. The only good thing is, it had to have happened quickly.
That's what I said. I mean, you know, I watched videos that was released prior to hearing, you know, that he had died, and people had hope, you know. But after seeing the video, I was like, Charlie was dead almost on impact, you know, and surviving that would be almost next to impossible. So after watching that, I know, you know, a lot of people, I saw B. Tatum's take before he found the news out, and he was hopeful, he was positive and things like that. If I would have saw that prior to, you know, hearing about Charlie, you know, his death, or seeing that video, and I could understand, because there were people out there saying that he was stabilized and he, you know, might pull through. But when you saw what happened to him, you know, you just got to go, wow. I want, you know, I just pray no suffering. That's it. But now the pain that his family has to live with, the pain that our society has to deal with when it comes down to this. And you're so mad because you know there are evil people out there that hate conservatives for no reason. They're for no reason. And would love to see this happen to many more of us.
Right. Right.
Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot and killed.
But isn't there a
Democrats own
problem with
this.
political violence across the spectrum?
See, there it is. See, is there a problem with political violence across the spectrum? Hey, let's spread that blame out. That's what we want to do. And I'm saying, is it? Go show me the video clips of us doing stuff like this. And don't bring up no dang on J6.
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
Thank you. Democrats own this 100%. They were the ones back in the day when Charlie first started. They were the ones talking about, you know what, these people are going on these campuses and they shouldn't be able to go in there with hate speech. They were the ones that supported, you know, all of these, you know, universities shutting down freedom of speech and debate. They're the ones that supported that. And so now, yeah, they own it 100%.
Rhetoric News is reporting the Speaker of the Utah House has said that Charlie Kirk has died. Your reaction, your initial reaction?
I hope that that's wrong, but I would really hope that the Speaker of the Arizona House is not speaking on behalf of the Utah House is not speaking before the family's been notified.
People are trying to shut down free speech making like Charlie Kirk. There's no place in this society. This is what happens in third world countries.
Yep. But now it's acceptable on the left. Yeah, they're celebrating all types of these type of situations. Yeah. And so, you know, now all of a sudden, you got a couple conservative politicians coming out and responding to it. But we're going to end with one guy who you could tell he was real busted up over it.
We ought to be able to debate and have dialogue and go to college campuses without fear of, you know, this kind of attack. But Charlie, he's a strong guy. He's a good man. I hope, you know, praying for him. I don't know the status. I have no idea. I keep getting conflicting reports. So praying for him and his family. He's got, you know, a little baby.
The place to start naturally.
Him, right here. Yeah, the way he responds, because, I mean, this Newsmax guy is going to try to redirect the blame to the Republicans. And I love his response to this in a minute. So check this out before we go.
The president on Truth Social moments ago letting the country know that Charlie Kirk has passed away. Your thoughts, sir?
First, let me gather myself a second. Charlie was he was a friend, not just an acquaintance, and so it's a little tough. My family's taking it pretty rough.
He's busted up. That's how it was. I'm telling you right now, I would not have been able to like talk to anybody. You know, it took a second to digest this. You know, from the time I woke up and heard about it to the time I got to work, I was almost in a daze. I just, you know, I'm like, man, I had a lump in my throat so big. Lump in my throat so big, like right now I can't talk to nobody. You know, they might see the emotions come out of me right about now. And, you know, it was so many of them boiling up on the inside. Disbelief, anger, you know, heartbroken. I'm saying, how could they do this to Charlie? How could they do this? It really did something to me. And so he's finding out real time right here that Charlie died. And this is a genuine reaction.
Sorry, Chris. I thought I could hold it together. Give me 1 second here. This stuff shouldn't happen.
Take all the time you need,
what a lot of people don't realize is that Charlie didn't make laws. I mean, literally, the guy gave an opportunity for the opposing views to be heard. He went to the campuses where most politicians wouldn't even consider going, literally wouldn't even consider going, and he had an open debate. He gave an open platform for those with opposing views to have, honestly, a safe conversation in their backyard.
And see, that's why I admire Charlie and his work. This man would go into the lion's den. See, that's when you know you're impactful. That's when you know you're doing things where you're saying, wow, this person ain't somebody who's just sitting behind the camera or, you know, making this. This guy would go into the lion's den with hostile young adults who he knew that many of them didn't agree. And over time, more started to agree with him. I remember when he first started, you would see pretty much the whole crowd was hostile. You know, only supporters was him and the crew that he brought. Then all of a sudden, now you see all of those folks cheering when he would get up and he would respond and make sense. You see the impact that he had. You see the growth of, you know, what he was doing and how all of these people now started to say, you know what, you got supporters and you got backup on the campus. You're not coming into a 100% hostile environment. Now all of a sudden you see the crowd divided. He was making a dent and impacting, and they had to go ahead and silence him. Yeah, that's their solution.
He didn't belittle any individuals. He talked about facts, as you said a while ago. It wasn't emotions he visited with. He talked about facts, and he gave that opportunity to individuals to speak on their beliefs. And because of his beliefs, he was killed. Because of his strong Christian stance, he was killed. And I'm not trying to point fingers here, but let me just say something here real quick.
Look at that. Man's 31. I mean, looks like he got a little boy and a little girl. That little boy right now, I mean, so young. He's going to have so many questions about his dad and, you know, how his dad's personality was. I mean, he's not even old enough to really have a lot of memories about his father. He's going to have to learn about his father through video clips and through, of course, the horrific, you know, ending of his life. Yeah, I mean, her world's been turned upside down. His wife's world has been turned upside down. What is she going to do now? I know everything's going through her head. What am I going to do now? How am I going to raise these kids? What am I going to tell these kids? I don't know the financial structure of them, but he obviously probably was the breadwinner, you know, and yet life's turned upside down because of some evil, stinking demon decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and assassinate this man.
All right? He was a Christian, and Christians are under attack right now from this far crazy left views that say they don't feel safe. Well, they're the ones going in and shooting up our schools.
Now, isn't that odd? They're always talking about safe spaces. We don't feel safe. Your words are violence. You're making me uncomfortable. I feel like you're trying to unexist me. And nobody's touching these people. Nobody's going in doing anything to these people. It's all in their head. And you know what it's supported by? That crazy delusion is supported by evil people in the media and the Democrats. They got these people walking around seeing stuff that's not there, believing things that aren't real, and responding, reacting as if it is.
Shooting up our churches and shooting people that they don't agree with, like President Trump and now Charlie Kirk. The temperature is too high. And now we're taking loved ones away from their families because you oppose his views. Yet he was just someone giving you an opportunity to speak. And you think his views are so bad you have to eliminate him, you have to kill him, you have to take him away from his wife and his kids? This is completely unacceptable. I mean, what has happened to us in the country that we can't even have an open debate now, Chris?
And so, as he's mentioning that, and we're watching the crowd respond, you know, when he just said, you hate his views so much where you got to take him away from his wife and his kids. We've been listening to liberals on the left celebrate these type of events now for a while. You know, they when, you know, the CEO got assassinated, they celebrated. You know, I mean, they're becoming such a cancer in our society. Anybody they disagree with, anybody they feel, you know, is evil, then it's okay. We now have the moral high ground enough to determine who lives and dies. Yeah, we can go ahead and say, you're better off being taken out so we can feel safe. So we can rest comfortably in our crazy ideology and our views, competed with. We don't want you to compete with our nonsense. We want to live in a world where we could say people could wake up and be a butterfly if they want. We want to live in a world where we could do whatever we want to the kids. We want to live in a world where we could just have open borders and spend money on them and illegal. And we want to live in that world. And we don't want nobody challenging our stinking ideas and our ideology. Yeah, we want to live in a world where men are weak and effeminate, and we out there, anybody who shows any type of testosterone is a misogynist. We want to live in a world like that. We want to live in a world that is 100% radically left. And when you get up there and you say, you know, that doesn't make sense. And you know why? Here's why it doesn't make sense. You shut up. You're hateful. You're evil. You need to be silenced. That's hate speech. Stupid stuff like that. That's the world they want to live in. And the question becomes, how do we unravel this? How do we ever get back to a point now where these people who've been programmed, you know, have get reset, get back to where they were before the world lost its mind?
Senator, I'm with you on that, and I have to suggest that perhaps
we got a troll. Please don't be a troll. Not right now. I ain't in the mood for a troll. Just block the troll. If the troll is out there, you're gonna get blocked. Okay. So now, with that being said, this guy now tries to flip it. So listen to the angle that he takes.
it has been the complacency of the Republican Party that has allowed the left wing to continue to push. They push further, they push further, and they push further. And the Republican Party retreats and retreats and retreats. And it is our people on the streets, whether it's in a light subway car or a train in Charlottesville, North Carolina, or whether it's on the stage having a conversation about policy in Utah, the left wing sees the conservatives being abandoned by the Republican Party, and it's open season on us. Do you think there could be now some inspiration in Congress for maybe those who call themselves Republicans or actually claim to be Republicans that might actually start defending us from these people?
Now, I see where he's going with this. Yeah, what he's saying is, look, Republicans, we have ideas. We got great policies for the most part. But when you look at the crazy behind rhetoric and all of these attacks and stuff, do you think y'all could do more to stop it? And the question becomes, what can we do? What's the source of the problem? Right now, the problem's already metastasized. It's already spread. We don't know how many crazies are lurking out there. And it's hard to rein them in. You can't go door to door. Are you a radical liberal? You can't do that. So now we got to respond to all these potential crazy folks out there. But this man is about to go back to the source. All right. It's not just these crazy folks that you're saying, well, what are y'all going to do to protect us from the crazies? The question becomes, who's the source of the craze? Who are the people who encourage the craziness to take place? All right. And so if anybody needs to be exposed and challenged, it needs to be, dealing with the crazy rhetoric that's coming out of guess who?
Chris, this has nothing to do with the Republicans and how they behave. This is how the Democrats are behaving. This is when you have Democrat leaders calling for people to go to the streets. This is how when Democrat leaders are calling for violence against ICE agents or calling for blood to be spilt on the streets. This comes from the rhetoric from the far left who's been stirring the pot so long. I mean, you go back to already to 2015 when they were calling President Trump a Nazi, which they still do to this day, saying that he was a threat of democracy. This goes all the way back to Maxine Waters, who was screaming. This goes back to when the Democrats were trying to impeach the president, which, I mean, obviously they did, but he wasn't convicted. This goes back to them stirring the fire of their base, stroking the fire of their base, and not being apologetic about it, and making them fear the opposition so much that they think they have to turn to violence, at the same time accusing Republicans of doing it. So
same time. Yeah, just projecting all of that. The way we deal with them, we got to stump that party out. Stump them out, not physically. Okay. Yeah, we got to stump them out and call them out and expose them for what they are. Every single time they get on there and start talking about that, our democracy, hey, that's hate speech. You know what? You're encouraging your folks to be crazy by pushing stuff that you obviously know aren't problems. And we got to beat that party so badly at the voting booth to the point where they are non-existent, because that party is tainted. It's destroyed. You can scrap it. Right now, that they're so infested. They're not even used to having real serious debates. They're not used to having legitimate policies. They're all a bunch of actors. They're a bunch of selfish, greedy, power-hungry folks that don't know how to get out there and be civil and have conversations and share thoughts and ideas without labeling everybody to be a racist, and everything you say and every policy you have is motivated by hate and all of this stuff, impugning everybody's character that they disagree with because they can't argue. They can't make a good defense of their crazy policies. So let's just go ahead. It's easier for us to just call everybody this and that. Censor the heck out of these folks. Censure. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Yeah. Every chance you get when you hear them up there talking crazy, saying stuff and encouraging all of this, the violence to come from the left. And dig into them deep. Launch a full-blown campaign focusing on how they have systematically contributed to programming folks to be crazy. Yeah, I mean, I would have all kind of video clips that I put out. This is the current state of the Democrat Party. Show all those video clips of them talking about, Trump's this, he's a racist, he's a white supremacist, and this and that. Yeah, encouraging, get up in their face if you see anybody. Show all the clips and say, this is the Democrat Party. You wonder why we got violence? You wonder why folks out there that aren't wrapped too tight might buy into this shite? It's because of them. The crazy stuff that they are putting out there because they can't defend their stupid ideas and their policies. I want them destroyed along with the media. And hopefully they're on their way out. It's unreal, their response to this. And I get it. Maybe the Republicans could do more, but right now, we got a lot of crazy people out there. We got a lot of evil people out there that have become desensitized to things that we used to, as a society as a whole, say, I can't believe that happened. That's horrible. Now what are they doing? Celebrating.
This has nothing to do with the Republicans and how they behave. This has to do with the way the Democrat leadership has stirred up their base and has went too far. And every single one of those Democrats that have come out and has called for violence to take place, for riots to happen on the streets, for blood to be shed, every one of those Democrats should be going on national TV right now and apologizing.
But they won't. They won't. Yep. They'll just send the media out there to misplace the blame, blame it on guns, blame it on Trump, all that stuff, you know. So we press on. We press on with the loss of a soldier. You know, Charlie was on the ground level. You know, I mean, he was going into battle with these folks. You know, and instead of them being able to appreciate debate, I guess they figured it'd be easier to just silence this man, you know, through something like that. Horrible, horrible. This is when we were out there in Arizona, whole bunch of us having a good time, sharing ideas, and so many YouTubers, conservative YouTubers, have interacted with Charlie. He brought us all out there, you know, went on internet, saw B. Tatum, Candace, all of the influencers that he felt, wow, what they're saying makes sense and they have potential to, you know, really impact people, and just flew us all out there. In fact, it was him and Brandon and Candace who invited me to the White House, you know, and I got to go there and hang out with them. And I mean, great people. I mean, Charlie was a great guy. Great guy. Give you the shirt off your back, and yet you got people out there labeling him as a racist and a misogynist and a white supremacist. I tell you, man, the left really knows how to push it. They really knows how to push it. And, you know, I just hope they don't push it to where it breaks. They really need to ease up. Really need to ease up. Folks don't want to be living in fear. Folks don't want to be saying, man, if I do an outside event, I got to worry about a crazy radical leftist assassinating me. Folks don't want to live like that. Yeah, and their goal is to scare our society into living in fear and saying, man, I ain't going out to the protest. I ain't going out to the debate. I ain't going to no rally. These crazy folks out here trying to take people out. And you don't want to get to that point in society. And they definitely don't want conservatives to actually say that's enough. They don't want that. They don't want that. You know, I think we're not there. But the problem is we just got so many of these people out here, this evil. It makes you say, you know what? I need to look over my shoulder now. You know, now all of a sudden, if you disagree with me, I got to make sure you don't go in your pocket or something because you can't defend. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So pray for Charlie's family. You know, I mean, this is a sad, sad situation. And I really hope that they find this shooter and they make him pay. They make him pay. You know, I really do. I hope they find him alive. I hope they catch him alive. Don't take the cheap way out like you tried to take Charlie out. Yeah, the cheap route. So I hope they catch that person alive and they pay a price. So God bless y'all. God bless America. Sad day, but we have better days ahead. Don't forget, on the way out, hit the like button, share my videos, follow me on the other platforms. I appreciate all of you guys. Love you guys. It's a time for us to stick together and, you know, support the movement, man. That's it. So God bless y'all. Take care. We'll see you next time in Kev's Corner.